My dear child, stay here for a moment, just here. Not moving forward, not looking back, only here in this small, quiet space between one breath and the next. You have been running for so long that you forgot what it feels like to simply be still. And stillness has been waiting for you patiently. The way a lamp left burning in a window waits for someone to finally come home. Tonight or this morning or whatever hour it is where you are coming home. Let your shoulders soften. Let your hands rest open. Palms upward, the way they used to rest when you were very small and hadn't yet learned that the world could be heavy. You are not being asked to fix anything right now. You are not being asked to understand everything right now. You are only being asked to stay, to listen, to let something old and tired inside you finally lay itself down. You have carried this pain for so long that you no longer remember what your own spirit feels like without it. It has become so familiar that you mistake it for your personality, for your fate, for the shape of who you are. But beloved, pain is not your shape. Pain is something that happened to you. Something that pressed itself into your softness the way a footprint presses into wet sand. And just as the sand can be smoothed by the next wave, so can you be smoothed by love, by time, by grace, by the quiet work being done in you even now. Even in this very moment, even as you simply sit and listen to these words. Think for a moment about how many nights you have lain awake, staring at a ceiling that offered no answers, listening to the silence of a house that felt too big for the smallness you were feeling inside. Think about how many times you have smiled at someone while something inside you was quietly breaking. How many conversations you have had while holding your breath, waiting for the moment you could finally be alone again and let your face fall into its true expression. You have been so brave. Nobody has told you that enough, so let it be said now, clearly, gently, and without hesitation. You have been unbelievably brave. Every single day that you got up despite the ache, every single time you kept going when quitting would have been so much easier. Every time you chose to hope even a little when despair was so much closer at hand. That was courage. Real courage does not always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like simply making it to the evening. Sometimes it looks like washing a single dish, or answering a single message, or taking a single shower on a day when the weight of existing felt unbearable. You have done these small brave things more times than you can count, and every single one of them mattered, even the ones nobody saw, even the ones you yourself have already forgotten. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, a seed buried deep in cold, dark soil. It cannot see the sun. It does not know if spring is coming. All it knows is darkness, pressure, and silence. And yet, even in that darkness, something is happening. Roots are forming in secret. Life is gathering itself, preparing, growing stronger in the hidden place before it ever breaks through into the light. You are that seed, beloved. The darkness you have known was never a punishment. It was a season of preparation you could not yet understand. Every hardship, every disappointment, every quiet, private tear, these were not wasted. They were part of the growing that had to happen before the breaking through. And beloved, the breaking through is coming. Can you feel it? Somewhere beneath the surface of your life, something is already stirring. Some small, resilient piece of you that refuses even now to give up entirely. That is grace, working quietly, patiently, faithfully, even when you could not feel it. Let your breathing slow down now. In gently and out, slowly, like the tide retreating from the shore, leaving everything a little more washed, a little more clean. With every exhale, imagine releasing something you have been holding on to. Maybe it is anger that is calcified into something heavy. Maybe it is a disappointment that you never let yourself fully grieve. Maybe it is the exhaustion of pretending day after day that you are fine when you are not. Let it go, just a little, just for this moment. You do not have to release it all at once, or healing rarely happens all at once, but you can begin here now, gently, with a single breath. There is a kind of loneliness that has nothing to do with being surrounded by people, and everything to do with feeling unseen even in a crowded room. You have felt this, haven't you? The strange ache of being surrounded by voices and yet feeling as though no one truly knows the weight you carry. The thoughts that visit you at 3 in the morning, the quiet griefs you have never spoken aloud to anyone. Beloved, you are seen, not in the way a stranger glances at you and moves on, but in the way that matters most, fully, completely, without flinching from anything you have ever felt or done or feared. Every tear you have cried in secret has been witnessed. Every silent prayer you were too afraid to say out loud has been heard. You have never been as alone as you believed yourself to be. Consider the ocean for a moment, how it can look calm on the surface while carrying storms and depths and entire hidden worlds beneath. You have been like that ocean, haven't you? Calm on the surface, showing up, functioning, smiling when required, while beneath the surface there has been so much movement, so much unspoken turbulence, so many currents pulling you in different directions. It is exhausting to be an ocean that must always appear calm. It is exhausting to carry storms quietly so that others are not disturbed by them. Tonight, you do not have to be calm. You do not have to hold the storm in silence. You are allowed here in this space to simply feel whatever it is you feel. The sadness, the anger, the confusion, the ache that doesn't quite have a name. It is safe to feel it here. Nothing you feel will be too much. Nothing you feel will make you unworthy of love. There is a kind of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. An exhaustion that lives not in the body but in the spirit, in the very center of who you are. You have known this exhaustion. You have felt it in the way that simple tasks began to feel enormous, in the way that joy, when it came, felt fragile and fleeting, in the way that even good news sometimes failed to lift the heaviness that had settled over you like a fog that would not clear. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is what happens when a soul has been carrying more than it was ever meant to carry alone. And you were never meant to carry it alone. Somewhere along the way, you learned to believe that needing help was a burden to others, that your pain was something to manage quietly and privately, so as not to inconvenience the world around you. But beloved, you were never meant to be an island. You were made for connection, for support, for the kind of love that does not flinch away from your heaviest moments but instead moves closer. Picture now a warm light, soft and golden, beginning to enter a room that has been cold and dim for a very long time. It does not rush in violently. It enters slowly, gently, the way morning light creeps across a floor, inch by inch, until the whole room is touched by its warmth. This is what healing looks like. It rarely comes all at once in a single dramatic moment. More often it comes slowly, gently, patiently, the way that light fills a room, until one day you notice that what was once cold and dark has become, without your even fully realizing when it happened, warm. You have prayed prayers that seem to disappear into silence. You have hoped for things that did not come when you wanted them, in the way you wanted them, on the timeline you had planned. And in that silence, in that waiting, it has been so easy to wonder if you were forgotten, if your voice was too small to matter, if the heavens had simply moved on to more important concerns. Beloved, you were never forgotten. Waiting is not the same as abandonment. Sometimes what looks like silence is actually the sound of something being carefully prepared, something being built in secret, so that when it finally arrives, it will be exactly what you needed, at exactly the moment you needed it most. The waiting season is not empty. It is not wasted. Even now, even in this very stretch of uncertainty you may be living through, something is being formed in you. Patience you did not have before, strength you did not know you possessed, a depth of compassion for others who suffer that could only be forged through your own suffering. Let your heart soften just a little more. I know it is guarded. I know it has been guarded for good reason, because it has been hurt before, because trust has been broken before, because love has sometimes come with conditions or left when you needed it most. But not all love leaves. Not all love has conditions. There is a love that has stayed with you through every version of yourself you have ever been. The frightened child, the confused teenager, the exhausted adult trying to hold everything together. That love has never once looked away from you. Not during your worst moments, not during the moments you are most ashamed of, not during the nights you believed yourself unlovable. You have always been held, even when you could not feel the arms around you. Think about winter for a moment, how bare and lifeless the trees appear, how the ground seems frozen and unyielding, how everything living seems to have disappeared or died. And yet, winter is not death. It is dormancy. It is rest. Beneath that frozen ground, roots continue their quiet work, gathering strength, preparing for what is to come. The trees are not dead. They are simply resting, conserving their energy for the burst of green that will come when the season turns. If your life has felt like winter, barren, quiet, still, know that winter is not forever. Spring always comes. It may not come on the timeline you would choose, but it comes faithfully, every single time, without fail. The same is true for you. Whatever winter you are in right now, however long and cold it has felt, it is not your permanent condition. Spring is coming for you too. I want to speak now to the part of you that has grown numb, the part of you that stopped feeling things as deeply because feeling had become too painful. So you built walls, quietly, brick by brick, until you could move through your days without being overwhelmed by everything you carried. That numbness was not a flaw. It was a mercy your mind gave itself, a way of surviving what might otherwise have been unbearable. But beloved, you were not made to live behind walls forever. Slowly, gently, in your own time, those walls can come down, not all at once, not in a way that leaves you exposed and unprotected, but brick by brick, in a way that allows you to feel again, joy again, connection again, the warmth of being truly present in your own life again. You are allowed to grieve the things you have lost, relationships that ended, versions of yourself you have outgrown, dreams that did not unfold the way you imagined, people who are no longer in your life, seasons that closed before you were ready for them to close. Grief is not weakness. Grief is love with nowhere left to go, and it deserves to be honored, not hurried, not hidden, not minimized. If you have not yet let yourself grieve something, this can be the moment you begin. You do not need permission from anyone else. You only need to let yourself feel it, however it comes, for however long it takes. Listen carefully now, because this matters. You are not being punished. Whatever you are going through, whatever hardship has found its way into your life, it is not a sign that you have failed, or that you are unworthy, or that you have somehow done something to deserve suffering. Life includes hardship for everyone without exception, and hardship is not a verdict on your worth. You are not being singled out for pain because you are less than others. You are simply a human being living a human life. And human life for everyone includes seasons of difficulty alongside seasons of joy. The hardship you are facing does not define you. It is simply something you are moving through, one day at a time, one breath at a time, one small act of courage at a time. Something inside you is changing even as you listen to these words. Perhaps you cannot name it yet. Perhaps it feels like nothing more than a subtle shift, a slight loosening of the tightness you have carried in your chest for so long. But it is real. Healing often begins in whispers before it ever becomes a shout. It begins in small moments like this one, a moment of stillness, a moment of being spoken to with gentleness instead of demand, a moment of simply being allowed to exist without having to perform or produce or prove anything. This moment, right now, is part of your healing. You do not have to do anything more than receive it. Think of the rivers that carve their paths through solid stone, not through force or violence, but through patience, through the simple persistence of water flowing, day after day, year after year, until what was once immovable becomes shaped by the gentle, consistent presence of the flow. You do not have to force your healing. You do not have to demand your peace to arrive all at once through sheer will. You can simply keep flowing, gently, consistently, trusting that even the hardest parts of your life, the stone-like griefs, the immovable fears, can be shaped slowly by the persistent presence of grace and love working in you day after day. You have spent so much energy pretending to be okay for the sake of others, smiling at family gatherings while your heart ached, reassuring friends that you were fine when you were barely holding on, showing up to work with a mask so convincing that no one around you had any idea what you were carrying. That performance has cost you more than anyone around you will ever know. And here in this space, you do not have to perform. You do not have to convince anyone of anything. You can simply be exactly as broken, as tired, as uncertain as you actually are, and you will still be held, still be loved, Still be worthy of every good thing that is coming toward you. Gentle pause. Breathe in slowly. Hold it for just a moment. And release. With that release, imagine setting down, just for now, the heaviest thing you have been carrying today. You do not have to carry it every single moment. You are allowed to set it down even briefly, even just for the length of this breath and rest. There is a kind of hope that does not depend on circumstances looking good. It is not the shallow optimism that says everything will simply work out because you wish it to. It is a deeper hope, one that says even if this particular thing does not resolve the way you want, even if this season continues longer than you would choose, you will still be held. You will still be loved. You will still find meaning in moments of light even within the difficulty. This is the hope being offered to you now. Not a promise that pain will vanish immediately, but a promise that you will never walk through it without companionship, without love, without the quiet, persistent presence of grace beside you every single step of the way. You are deeply loved, beloved. Not loved because of what you accomplish, not loved because of how well you perform, not loved conditionally based on how put together you appear to others. You are loved simply because you exist, because you were brought into being, because your soul, exactly as it is right now, tired, uncertain, carrying whatever weight you are carrying, is precious beyond anything you could measure. There is nothing you could do to make yourself unlovable. There is no failure so large, no mistake so significant, no season of struggle so prolonged that it could ever separate you from the love that has held you since before you had words to describe it. Somewhere in your history there is a version of you who was told in one way or another that your feelings were too much, that your sensitivity was inconvenient, that it would be easier for everyone if you simply learned to swallow what you felt and carry on as though nothing had touched you. And so you learned. You became skilled at appearing unaffected. You became an expert at folding your emotions into small, manageable shapes that could be tucked away where no one would have to see them. But, beloved, your sensitivity was never a flaw to be corrected. It is, in fact, one of the most tender and remarkable parts of who you are. Your capacity to feel deeply is the very same capacity that allows you to love deeply, to notice beauty others miss, to be moved by a sunset or a stranger's kindness or a piece of music in a way that dulled hearts cannot be moved. The world tried to convince you that your depth was a burden. It was lying. Your depth is a gift even when it has cost you, even when it has made you ache in ways that others around you did not seem to ache. Let your mind travel now to a memory of stillness, perhaps a morning by water, or a quiet moment beneath trees, or simply a rare afternoon when nothing was demanded of you and you could simply exist without hurry. Hold that memory gently. Notice how even in the middle of everything you have been carrying, your soul still remembers what peace feels like. It has not forgotten. It is still there, somewhere beneath the noise, waiting patiently for you to return to it. You have not lost your capacity for peace. You have only been separated from it for a while by circumstances beyond your control. But separation is not the same as loss. What has been temporarily set aside can always be returned to. Consider the mountain, how it stands unmoved through storm after storm, season after season, decade after decade, its peak sometimes wrapped in cloud, sometimes battered by wind and rain, and yet it does not crumble. It does not abandon its place. There is something unshakable at the very core of you as well, beloved, something that has remained steady beneath every storm you have weathered. Even in moments you were certain you would break completely, you did not break. You bent, perhaps. You ached, certainly. But the deepest part of you, the essential you, remained standing, the way the mountain remains standing long after the storm has passed and moved on to trouble some other part of the sky. I want to speak to the guilt you carry, the quiet accusation you turn against yourself in private moments, the belief that you should be further along than you are, that you should have healed faster, forgiven sooner, moved on more gracefully, handled things better than you did. Beloved, put that guilt down. You did the best you could with what you knew, with what you had, with the resources available to you in each moment. Hindsight offers clarity that was not available to you in the actual living of those moments. You are not required to have been wiser than you were capable of being at the time. Forgive yourself the way you would forgive a dear friend who came to you confessing the very same struggles. With compassion, with understanding, with the recognition that being human means being imperfect, means learning slowly, means sometimes getting things wrong before getting them right. There is a particular ache that comes from watching others seem to move through life with an ease that has always eluded you. Friends whose relationships seem effortless. Family members whose paths seem to unfold without the struggles you have known. Strangers online whose curated lives seem untouched by the kind of pain that visits you in the quiet hours. Beloved, what you see is never the whole story. Every person carries something hidden, something they do not show, some private grief or fear or ache that does not make it into the moments others witness. Comparison has always been a thief, stealing your peace by measuring your whole complicated real life against someone else's carefully arranged highlight reel. You do not know what battles they are fighting in the dark. You only know your own, and your own battles do not make you less than anyone else. They make you exactly who you are, someone who has survived things others may never have to face, someone whose strength has been forged in fires that others have been spared. Let your attention settle now on your own breath again, in and out, slow and unhurried. Notice that your body is still here. Notice that your heart continues its faithful rhythm without you having to command it to do so. There is a kind of quiet miracle in simply being alive, in the fact that your body has kept working for you through every hard night, every anxious morning, every moment you doubted you could continue. Your body has never given up on you, even in the moments you may have wanted to give up on yourself. It has kept breathing for you, kept your heart beating, kept carrying you forward one day at a time, faithfully, without complaint. Perhaps it is worth thanking your body for this quiet, unwavering loyalty. There is a season coming. I do not know precisely when, and I will not pretend to know timelines that belong to a wisdom greater than mine. But there is a season coming in which you will look back on this very moment, this very stretch of struggle, and you will understand things about it that you cannot understand right now. You will see how certain doors closed only so that other doors, better suited to who you were becoming, could open in their place. You will see how certain people left your life only to make room for people who could love you the way you actually needed to be loved. You will see how the very things that felt like unbearable loss were, in some mysterious way, also the beginning of something you could not have received any other way. This does not erase the pain of the present moment. It does not mean the pain was good or that it should be minimized. It simply means that pain and purpose are not always opposites. Sometimes they are companions, walking together toward a future that has not yet revealed itself to you. Beloved, you are allowed to rest. I want to say this plainly because so much of the world has taught you that rest must be earned, that you must first prove your worth through exhaustion before you are permitted to stop. But rest is not a reward for productivity. Rest is a right, a need, a sacred requirement of being human. You do not have to justify your need for stillness. You do not have to explain why you are tired. Your tiredness is valid simply because you say it is, simply because you feel it, simply because you are a living being who was never meant to run at full capacity every single hour of every single day without pause. Let yourself rest without guilt. Let yourself do nothing some days without needing to account for the nothing. Rest is not laziness. Rest is maintenance for the soul, and your soul has been asking for this maintenance for a very long time. I think of the way flowers do not force themselves to bloom before their season, how a tulip does not push through frozen ground in the middle of January simply because it feels impatient with waiting. It waits. It trusts its own timing, embedded deep within its nature, and when the moment is right, it emerges, not a moment before it is ready, and not a moment after. You are allowed this same trust in your own timing. You do not have to bloom on someone else's schedule. You do not have to heal at the pace others expect of you, or reach the milestones others have reached by the ages they reached them. Your timing is your own, sacred and particular to the life only you are living. Trust it. Trust that when you are ready to bloom, you will bloom, fully and completely, in a way that could not have happened one moment sooner. Something is shifting in you now, beloved, even as these words continue to settle over you like a warm covering on a cold night. Perhaps you feel it as a loosening in your chest, a slight easing of the tension you have carried in your jaw or your shoulders without even realizing it was there. Perhaps you feel it simply as a strange, unfamiliar quiet, the kind of quiet that comes not from emptiness, but from a fullness that has finally found room to settle. Whatever you are feeling right now, let it be enough. You do not need to feel something dramatic for this moment to matter. Sometimes the most important shifts happen so gently that you barely notice them happening, and it is only later, looking back, that you recognize this as the moment something inside you began, quietly, to heal. Gentle pause. Let us speak now of forgiveness, not the forced, hurried forgiveness that demands you pretend you were never hurt, but the slow, honest forgiveness that acknowledges the wound fully before choosing, in its own time, to release the weight of carrying resentment. You do not have to forgive today. You do not have to forgive on anyone else's timeline, including mine. But know this: forgiveness, when it comes, is not a gift you give to the person who hurt you. It is a gift you give to yourself, a way of finally setting down a weight that has been exhausting you far longer than the original wound ever should have. The person who hurt you may never know, may never apologize, may never even understand the depth of what they caused. Your forgiveness does not depend on their awareness or their remorse. It depends only on your own readiness to stop carrying something that has cost you more than it ever cost them. You have been so hard on yourself, beloved. Harder perhaps than you have ever been on anyone else in your life. You would never speak to a friend the way you sometimes speak to yourself in the privacy of your own mind. The harsh judgments, the relentless criticism, the refusal to acknowledge anything you do well while magnifying every perceived failure. Where did you learn to treat yourself this way? Perhaps from someone who treated you this way first. Perhaps from a world that taught you that self-criticism was the same thing as self-improvement. But beloved, cruelty has never actually produced healing, not from others and not from yourself. What produces healing is tenderness, patience, the willingness to speak to your own heart the way you would speak to a frightened child, gently, reassuringly, with endless patience for the process of growing. Picture the storm passing now. The winds finally beginning to quiet, the rain softening into a gentle mist, and then eventually, into stillness. This is what is happening within you even now. The storm you have been living through, whatever form it has taken in your particular life, will not rage forever. Storms, by their very nature, are temporary. They exhaust themselves eventually. They move on to other skies. And after every storm without exception, there comes a clearing, a moment when the clouds part and light returns to places that had been dark. This is not wishful thinking. This is simply the nature of storms, and it will be true for yours as well. You are being held right now, beloved, more completely than you have ever realized. Not held in a way that restrains you, but held in a way that steadies you, the way a parent holds a child who is learning to walk, close enough to catch them if they stumble, but far enough to let them discover their own strength. You have been stumbling perhaps more than you would like to admit, but you have also been caught every single time, even when you could not see or feel the hands that caught you. You are still here. You are still breathing. You are still listening to these words. That itself is evidence that you have been held.